Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be slightly different. Today I'm actually collaborating with a girl called Jess. I've been talking to Jess quite a lot on Instagram and WhatsApp. Basically she has the same illness as me, so I'm going to be interviewing her and asking her some questions, because basically there is so many different stories with how people are diagnosed. So yeah, it will give you a bit of an insight into what this disease is actually all about and how people suffer with it differently. I'll leave all of her links in the description box below, as she also has a YouTube channel and she will also be interviewing me over on her channel if you want to go and check that one out after this one. So if you'd like to know more about Behcets disease, then keep on watching. This is Jess's interview. Before we get in with the video, don't forget to go down and smash the thumbs up button, and also don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to turn the notification bell on so you don't miss any more videos like this one. I post on Wednesdays and Sundays, and without further ado, let's get straight on in with the video. Okay, so the first question is, what symptoms did you get before you were actually diagnosed?
Hi everyone, I'm Jess. Thank you for watching Roxy's video today, we really appreciate it. And to answer the first question, the symptoms that I had at the beginning of 2017 were general symptoms that I think most Behcets sufferers deal with. I had mouth ulcerations, I had skin lesions, my skin was peeling all over my fingers. You can probably see today that I still have a few cracks around my nail beds. And people could say that was due to anxiety, that I was pulling away at the skin. And I know this can sound a bit revealing, but I would like to be as honest as I can when answering these questions. But there was a few more symptoms that just kept popping up. I had a lot of gastro problems. I had a lot of stomach pains. I was fatigued. And I do have a lot of secondary conditions as well as Behcet syndrome. And I have conditions that have been diagnosed secondary to Behcet syndrome, so a lot of my symptoms are very similar, and I think a lot of it was very daunting because I'd already been diagnosed with various conditions, and these one or two random symptoms kept popping up. And I know for a lot of Behcet sufferers it can take up to a decade to be diagnosed. I've just been recently diagnosed and I'm still learning to this day.
Question number 2, what year was you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in December 2020, so literally last month, and that was after a 6-week stay in the Royal Three Hospital in London because my stomach was paralysed. I had a gastric emptying scan and it led to another diagnosis that has basically made my life do a 180. So now that I've been diagnosed, I can finally receive the treatment that I've needed for the past 2 years. And I'm quite lucky really. A lot of people have suffered for a lot longer, but now that I have that diagnosis, it isn't really important, but it's nice that I can finally put kind of like a face to a name. It's nice that I don't want to put a big stamp on it and say I have Behcets. I don't want it to define my life, but now knowing that I can move on and accept that this is what's been happening to my body, I can get the correct treatment and kind of close that chapter and just learn to deal with the symptoms and try and live a healthy and comfortable life as best I can.
Question number 3, what medication are you currently taking?
2 years ago, when these symptoms arose, like the mouth ulcers and the skin lesions, they put me on a medication called gabapentin. Now gabapentin is, I believe it is a epilepsy muscle relaxing medication. If I'm wrong, I do apologise. Don't take my word as gospel. Please check with your GP or your consultant to find out what gabapentin is. And also as well, just a little disclaimer, every patient is different. So just because I was on gabapentin, it doesn't mean that every other Behcet's patient will also be on gabapentin. Second to that, I was also on a medication called colchicine. Now colchicine was to help with the ulcerations in my mouth, and sadly gabapentin and colchicine didn't work. So I was then moved on to another medication called I can never pronounce this, hydroxychloroquine. Now, I don't really know what hydroxychloroquine did, but it kind of just muted the symptoms, and then eventually I became immune to the drug, and with the correct support from my medical team, I've actually been advised not to take any medication, and I actually am on something called plasma exchange, which is also not treating my conditions, because there's no cure for Behcets or any of the other conditions that I have, sadly, but it allows me to live a more comfortable and stable life. And because of that, I receive treatment through this, which, if you can see, is a tunnel dialysis catheter. Now, if you follow my Instagram, you'll have followed my journey, and if you've watched my previous videos, you'll have seen I had that fitted in early November. I've had 2 rounds of plasma exchange, one in November and one in October. I was due to have one last week, but because of COVID, it's safer for me to be at home. So the only form of like medication I'm having is administered through my dialysis catheter, and I'm also given a calcium substitute because I now have a chemical imbalance. And I also take a lot of vitamins because of that chemical imbalance. I take thiamine, I take a vitamin D and vitamin B substitute, and I also take just a general multivitamin that you can buy in your local supermarket.
Question number 4, what is your day-to-day life generally like?
Now, this is a really difficult question to answer. My day-to-day life varies because, as I've mentioned, I have several other conditions secondary to Behcets and other conditions that are completely separate to Behcet syndrome. I have fibromyalgia, endometriosis, Raynaud's syndrome, or Raynaud's phenomenon, if you can't even pronounce that word, Raynaud's syndrome, and I also have a condition called gastroparesis, which comes secondary to my Behcets. So every day I'm always dealing with something, whether that's fatigue due to the fibro, whether that's really cold hands and feet because of the Raynaud's, whether that's really bad cramps because of the endometriosis, back pain, ulcerations because of the Behcets. The worst things that really affect my day-to-day life is my eating habits, and that is because gastroparesis is a condition that translates to a paralysed stomach, and I was recently diagnosed with that along with Behcets back in December, and every day is really difficult. So I just try my best to follow the diet plan that I'm on, take all my vitamins, try and stay as active as I can, but also if I'm really struggling, I don't feel guilty if I need to stay in bed all day and sleep, because there's some days that I can't even get up in the morning. My husband is my registered carer, so Wayne, thank you for looking after me. And I might have a day where I go out and I'm like superwoman. I know for a fact that after I've had my 4 days of plasma exchange, I feel like a superhero. I feel like I can take on the world, I can get up, I can shower, I can not necessarily cook because I'm the worst cook ever, but my day-to-day life varies and no day is the same, but majority of days are similar with the fatigue and the eating. So I would say the biggest struggles day to day are my sleeping habits and my eating habits.
Question number 5, do you have any conditions that have been diagnosed because of Behcets?
I may have previously mentioned in the other question, so I do apologise, that yes, I do have another condition diagnosed because of Behcets, which is called gastroparesis. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I do have a future video coming up about gastroparesis, which is going to be another exciting collaboration with another YouTuber. And yeah, so that was diagnosed because for anyone who doesn't know, Behcet syndrome is a form of vasculitis, and it is affected by the blood vessels. So when your antibodies in your body attack the good antibodies, it can affect anywhere in your body, and it's not the same to every person. Mine affected my stomach, so now my stomach is paralysed, so I can't eat anything that's high in fibre. I can't eat foods that are going to take a long time to digest because I will end up in hospital, and sadly that causes me to vomit on a daily basis. It causes severe bloating, severe discomfort, hot flushes, and the worst thing of it all, it can make you really poorly and lose a lot of weight, to the point where I've lost 2.5 stone, which is good because I feel great and I've kept that weight off, but it is also really challenging. So gastroparesis is another condition to watch out for with Behcet syndrome, but again, as I've said, it's not the same for every patient. It doesn't mean just because you've got Behcet you're going to get gastroparesis, and as far as I'm aware, I don't think Roxy even has gastroparesis, but her Behcet's affects her in a different way, and you can find that out in my video in the description box down below.
Question number 6, have you had to have any surgery or procedures?
Because of Behcet's, I have had several procedures. I've had your general day-to-day cannulas put in my arm, but because of Behcet syndrome, it attacks the blood vessels, and the blood vessels then don't work correctly. So when you have a cannula, it tends to like boil and blister, and this is known as pathogy. So because of that, and because my stomach wasn't able to digest the medication or the food, I had to have a PICC line placed in my arm, and that helped me get all of the medication, all of the nutrition that I needed. Then also, to receive my first round of plasma exchange, I had to have a central line fitted in my femoral artery. And for anyone who doesn't know, that is similar to my permacath or tunnel dialysis catheter, as it's also known. I had it in my groin, and that was only in for a week. I had both the PICC line and the femoral central line removed, and I've also had a tunnel dialysis catheter fitted. So these were all procedures. I've not actually had surgery yet because of the Behcet syndrome. I've just had very invasive procedures, but they were all worth it, and they've helped me to deal with this condition better at home. So now I have district carers coming into the house, and they flush it every week and they change the dressings every week, so I'm well looked after even though I'm shielding at home.
Question number 7, what are the advantages and disadvantages now that you have been diagnosed?
The advantages and disadvantages of being diagnosed with Behcet's are, now that I finally know what is going on with me, I can kind of close that book and I can focus on a more positive future, because as well as dealing with COVID in 2020, shielding has been really difficult. So that has been the hardest part, I think, having to shield because of my immune system being so low and being at such high risk of catching COVID. But the advantages are also, I've actually made a lot of friends because of this condition. I have a really, really good friend called Kat. She has a channel, a podcast channel called Rising with the Illness over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can also follow her on Instagram at Rising with the Illness. I've met other YouTubers like Roxy, and even though I've not met these people face to face, it's nice to know that I can speak to them if I have any worries, and we can do things like this to raise awareness. So I think that is a real positive, and also it's made me more of a patient person and made me realise that little things don't matter anymore. I'm still an anxious person, but I don't think Behcet has defined me, and I'm just basically trying my best to be as positive as I can. Sorry if I'm waffling, it just gets really difficult to talk about sometimes, but on a whole I actually find it a really positive experience. It does have its down days and it does have its good days, but it's basically just how you approach the situation and how you let it affect you.
And the last question, number 8, do you have a good support system, i.e. family, friends, medical?
Hi everyone, I'm sorry that I'm in a different setting and it's a little while later my battery died, but for my last answer to the last question is I do have an amazing support network with regards to Behcet's. I have my husband, who is my full-time carer and my partner in crime here on YouTube, so he offers me daily support with regards to like helping me get up in the mornings, making sure I take my medication, making sure I get to my appointments. I can also pick up the phone and speak to my family whenever I need to vent or get things off my chest or just share my experiences. I also have some amazing people on social media, on Facebook on Instagram and on YouTube and even TikTok on the rare occasion that I can speak to. I've made some really good friends, as I've previously mentioned, one including Roxy, who I'm doing this video with today. And I have a really good medical team who have supported me massively over the past 6 months, especially Dr. Kidd, who is my consultant neurologist. He is a neuro Behcets specialist based out of the Royal Free Hospital in London. So yeah, that's all of my questions. I hope I have answered them and given you lots of information with regards to Behcets. I'd like to thank Roxy for taking the time to interview me today. If you'd like to see her interview, go over to my channel, which is HolidayWithTheHeathers, and I'm sure she will have put the links down in the description box below. So bye guys.
I'll leave all of Jess's links in the description box below, as well as Chloe and Emily's Instagram page, which has helped me out a lot. So yeah, make sure to check all of that out. So that is all of the questions. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining me on my channel and answering those interview questions. I hope you now have a little bit more of an insight into Behcets disease and how people suffer with it differently. If you do have any more questions about this illness, or if there's anything else you want to know, my DMs are always open if you want to send me a message, or I can do a part 2 of this. Just let me know. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to go down and smash the thumbs up button for me, as it helps me out a lot and it lets me know you like these sort of videos. If there's any other videos you'd like to see me do, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any more videos, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.